Hey everyone, it's Varush. Welcome to my channel. I'm excited to be with you guys today to talk about the new moon that's coming up tomorrow on February 9th, and there is a lot to talk about. Today's video is an all sign with an astrology intro, so we can start off with astrology and then do some all sign readings for every single sign. I'll use the astro dice in this one to give you an idea of which house, which sign or which planet or transit, and which sign to watch out for with this energy. As you guys watch this video, hopefully you will understand the significance of this new moon. It is very integrated into what we've been talking about, which means that there is a sequence of transits that are happening right now since last year that are deeply connected to each other, and this new moon is actually a very important part in that. There's a lot of information to cover in terms of astrology, so I've decided to do a separate members-only astrology deep dive. It's in the lower tier that we will complete that reading. It's not done yet. And there I will go through the things we're talking about now in greater detail. So I made it the lower tier collective reading. It will be a part of your offering for the Varushians level, so it's an extra reading for that. It's the way that we can go through the astrology with the enthusiasts who are very interested in the more deeper details, and it will help us to just work through those energies that way. So I hope you guys are interested in that. This new moon, wow, it has so many important features to it. So let's just dive right in and talk about it right away. I kind of want to pull some cards, just 9 cards maybe, as we are talking about, just in case something jumps out at me. I am using the Aquarian Tarot because it's the fitting tarot deck for this season. We start off with the 2 of Pentacles. And then we have the, what is this? The High Priestess. Ooh, nice. Okay. There's a lot of connection here at 20 degrees Aquarius with metaphysical learning. Through the Kabbalah, this location is associated with the Wheel of Fortune, so we already have that synchronicity going on. And then we have the Death card, huge things coming. I'll explain everything in a minute for you guys. And then we have the 5 of Cups in the center. That's the square. We'll talk about this. Venus to the nodes. So Venus is squaring the nodes right now, and that's our emotional point, or one of 2 major centers. I guess 3 if you count Neptune, but Venus, we may be prone at this time as Venus squares the nodes to feel as though the things that are happening are against us in some way, or against what we really want. But you know, it's a point of learning or awareness that you should be aware of, but it's not a transit that lasts a long time. If anything, it just brings your awareness to what you want, your emotional center, and the things as they are happening. It's a very sensitive time for us because Chiron and the North Node are coming together. So that makes sense why, you know, some people may be feeling extra sensitive or extra vulnerable. We have the King of Swords. So be kind to each other. Be nice to each other. Don't start any fights. Page of Swords. And if somebody's starting a fight with you, just give them room to breathe. Let them figure it out. Then we have the Magician. Okay, so we have lots of trumps right away, which makes sense because key things are happening alongside this new moon. So like I said in the intro, I'm going to go really quickly through the astrology here. So if something doesn't make sense, I'll be jumping over things. And that's why we will dedicate a members only part for those of you who really love the astrology. So, and that will be, if I can make it, I'll film it live for everybody to watch just after we do this, depending on time and sunset, you know. But we have till 5:30 Pacific time before the sun sets. And likewise with members only videos, it can get a little dark because we're not relying on light for the algorithm or something like that. And when we're talking astrology, does it really matter? So if you are not a member and you can't afford a membership or you can't be a member, stick around by the end of this video. It's likely that I will film a second live session for members only. And once I'm done filming that live session talking about these transits, then we will, once I'm done filming, it will be members only from then on. But it will be the lower tier. I think it's like $2 or $3. It's not very expensive. Okay, so it's just a way to manage the content. So this is a big deal, new moon. It's very, very big deal, specifically of where it's happening at 20 degrees of Aquarius. And so some of this nuance is what we're going to cover in the detail astrology. It's happening tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific, so February 9th, and it's at the 20th degree, a very auspicious degree of Aquarius here. This whole area of the sky is very sacred and special. The moon is also at perigee. It's at closest position to the earth. So new moon, supermoon, I'm not sure if that's the right way to call it, but it is crossing the earth underneath the sun. Well, not really. I mean, it still gets absorbed by the sun. It's still traveling with the sun underneath it, but the sun is above and the moon is below. It's not quite an eclipse. Right after the new moon happens, I don't do void of course kind of integration into our astrology, but this is something for you guys to know. The new moon happens at 14:58 Pacific, so you can do your conversion to your time zone. And then until 5:45 a.m. on February 10th, it doesn't form any aspects to any other transit. So that's called void of course. What that means is I would really recommend that you don't engage in manifestation, magic type activities from 14:58, which till February 10th at 5:45. And it's not a good idea to engage in magic or practice right before the new moon too, because you're sort of like cutting yourself off as you're initiating energy. So what I would recommend is that you wait until after February 10th at 5:45. And then the moon will kind of slip into Pisces and kind of open up, and the energy will sort of flow out into what it's supposed to be. It's also important, this is called void of course. I'm not sure if I was specific when I explained that. Of course, it's the Chinese New Year. I'm not going to wish you that word right now, because in Chinese cultural practices, you're not supposed to wish a New Year until after it happens. So it's kind of a double reason. Also, for those of you who want to be extra careful or really pay attention to the energy, you may want to wait until the moon reaches Saturn, which will be the following day. I wrote it down, but it's not here. I'll tell you guys in the memberships. I'll double check what that is when we do the membership reading. I would wait essentially for the moon not to just enter Pisces and finish its void of course, but also wait until it joins Saturn, because Saturn's very close at 7 degrees Pisces. It is the ruler of Aquarius, and so there you just want to wait until that energy matures. So I would say no to manifestation. See what's coming up for you. See the energy that's rising here. It's integrated to a lot of past events that we're going to talk about, so just be aware of that. The other thing to pay attention to right away is that the new moon is on good angles to the nodes. It forms a sextile to the north node and a trine to the south node. So that's a really harmonious placement. Essentially what that is telling me, and I'll tell you guys that Libra is very activated right now. So if you have any Libra transits, they're super activated with this new moon. The south node represents the past, like things that we've come into completion about, things that have had their moment, and we've learned from and we've grown from our lived experiences. And so because it's a trine here, it's very informed with the past, which means whatever you've learned in the past, whatever you've conquered, you're applying now towards the future. And this sextile to the north node is actually opening up you towards new opportunities. So we have this, you know, year of the dragon, Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year event happening, but it's also in a really beautiful angle to the north node, supported by the south node that's super activated in Libra. Okay, so there's a couple different rulerships for Aquarius where this new moon is happening. First, we have Uranus, and so Uranus is in Taurus. This is a square to the moon. This isn't the easiest sort of placement, but specifically what it could mean. And once you watch the rest of the video, or once you watch all the information, this is actually not just a square, it's a T-square to energies in Leo, especially if you have placements in Leo between 15 and 25 degrees. It's very important for you to be aware of this. But for us collectively, this is a very interesting, important, potent time. These placements right here also complete a kite that's pointing straight at the moon off of Vesta in the south node. So if you have these placements, they're really blessed. But Uranus is squaring the moon. With that, you should expect some degree of unexpected events arising. If you've been checking out my Instagram, I posted a really nice post for you guys a couple days ago about the rose. And so basically it describes the relationship of the transits in Aquarius squaring the transits in Taurus and their relationship to each other. So this square between the Taurus placements and the Aquarian placements are very important right now. And so you can visualize the rose, the flower part of the rose, as the Aquarian transits, whereas the Taurus transits, Jupiter and Uranus, could be the stem and the thorns, right? And so it's the mindfulness of reaching for your ideals here in Aquarius, while at the same time navigating the life in the world, in everyday life. So it's a really beautiful energy here, and I hope that you guys will like it, but expect the unexpected. And so Uranus is actually on a T-square to the energies that are on the Aquarian Leo axis, and I'll explain about that more in a minute. But this is significant for you guys and also for the world at large. Unexpected events may arise with this T-square. We'll talk about this in a minute. The second ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces. And I already mentioned to you guys that it might be a good idea to wait until the moon reaches 7 degrees Pisces before doing any kind of intention work. Between now and the time that the moon reaches Saturn, you want to see how the energy really plays out. And so yeah, just pay attention. Jupiter and Saturn are under a sextile that's really, really positive. I just did a deep dive on this channel about this relationship. It's about 50 minutes long, explains like the nuance and all the important parts about this relationship between Saturn and Jupiter. It's this opening sextile on a planetary cycle that began in December 2020. So this is the last end of its sextile. It's really giving us opportunities on how to deal with our everyday lives and with the world. I am going to do an all sign on this, so stay tuned for this. It's really, that all sign is going to refer back to this video a lot, because as Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius, it's really informing this energy right now, but really proactive, really ready to move forward and improve our lives. So let's look at the third decan of Aquarius just a little bit. So the moon is the ruler of the third decan in traditional astrology, since it's a new moon, it just accentuates that energy. The modern ruler of the third decan is Venus, and Venus is in Capricorn. So the observation about the Venus from the beginning that I mentioned is that she's squaring the nodes. So this is not an easy placement. What that can actually suggest is that there is tension between where we are going and how we feel about it. So, and especially with regard to relationships, there could be a dragging of the feet sort of emotionally. I don't know if, I want to go there. I don't know if I want to do this kind of question mark event. This is leading us into both the squares between Aquarius and Taurus, and Capricorn, and the nodes and Chiron here. This is this tense energy is feeding us information into the conjunction between Chiron and the North Node, and that is going to happen between the last week of February, but really in the first week of March. And I'll explain that later, but I have also explained this in a recent video about how to calculate the nodes and what the correct node is. So we are getting tension, and things may be coming up for us emotionally about where we want to go and how we are seeing things play out. So just to bring us back to the tarot a little bit, look at this. We have the Five of Cups. It is that dragging of the feet. What's happening may not be to your liking, or you may experience resistance to some of the things that are going on, but they're not permanent, and it's not something that is going to be ultimately terrible. And so the cycle began, if you want a reference for this, in May 21st, 2023 at 5 degrees Taurus, so right where Jupiter is right now. And the next cycle begins on April 17th, 2024, and that will begin in Aries, so right about where Chiron is. So it's a healing event. It's an opportunity to address certain issues with regard to relationships, but right now you may be feeling tension or a lack of openness to where life is going. You may be feeling apprehensive. And so just to bring you back to why I'm talking about Venus, she is the modern ruler of the third decan of the new moon. So events may be coming up with the new moon that are triggering Venus, that are triggering these events. And at first you may not feel so confident about them, but there's signs here that it's going to be what you want, and they're going to be good. On a positive note, Venus is actually creating a trine to Uranus as well. This is very, very positive because Uranus, of course, is the modern ruler of Aquarius. So we have the third decan ruler, modern ruler, in a trine to the modern ruler of the sign. So you have this really flexible disposition, especially in relationships. I think what this means is that essentially people are gonna go your way. So if there's conflict, if there is a lack of solution, I think that people are willing here to try different things, embrace, a different approach, and find solutions. So whatever's coming up is temporary, and pay attention to this. Remember, Saturn as the traditional ruler of Aquarius here, there is stuff to deal with. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's likely going to clean things up and make way for good outcomes. And if you've been working really hard with the things that are triggered now, so let's say you've been applying yourself for a long time in this direction in terms of the things that are coming up now, then there's a reward here, because whenever we have Saturn, there's like an element of reward. It's not necessarily like huge, jackpot moment, but it's a very fulfilling reward. It's a fulfilling outcome for, good efforts and time well spent. So let's go over some of the astrological patterns, and I'll do this much more deeply when we do the reading for the collective, but let's go over some of the main patterns that I think are very important to be aware of. So first of all, I love this grand trine between Vesta and the South Node. This really adds to the energy of established relationships and moving forward with things that you've learned in the past. It's almost like you've completed your awareness and learning, and now you're able or willing to take it a step further. So that grand trine is happening alongside the new moon. Then there are 3 yods that I really want to highlight. First, there is a yod with, let me see, between sextile. The north node is forming a sextile to the new moon. And so this is bringing a focal point to Juno in Virgo at 20 degrees. So if you have placements at, the last degrees of Virgo, the last decan, 15 to 25 degrees, this is especially salient for you. This is a part of a larger kite formation that I talked about last year, and we'll go into this more when we do the in-depth reading. But the kite is formed off of Pluto sextiling Neptune and trining Uranus. And so this is a long-term aspect. It's a minor grand sextile between these outer planets. And whenever there are transits here in the late degrees of Virgo and later early degrees of Libra, key events happen in our lives. This transit is going to be with us over the next 10 years. I introduced it to you guys in 2023, but in 2024, it's really going to grow into itself as Pluto enters Capricorn. So we have this yod, which is it's called the finger of God. I call it the laser beam energy, and that forms when the sun sextiles the north node and points directly at Virgo. So that Virgo area of your chart, the last 10 degrees, last 15 degrees of the sign, is getting some really stimulating energy here. So even though it's been already activated since 2023, this new moon is really giving it an opportunity to move forward towards something nice. So we have the Virgo yod, then we have a yod or a yod onto Libra degrees at about 5 degrees, and that forms off of the Saturn-Jupiter sextile. So we've talked about the Saturn-Jupiter sextile as a collective reading. We haven't done an all sign on it yet. We will do it soon. But basically off of this sextile, there is a focal point here in the first degrees of Libra. And that's super interesting because once the outer planets, this is connected to that kite as well, once the outer planets move into Aries, Aquarius more, and even Gemini, those kite formation will begin to form in Libra. So only the first few happen in the last degrees of Virgo. Then we get a full decade of kites forming off of early degrees Libra. So this yod that's happening right now off of the ruler of the sign in which the new moon is happening, Saturn sextile Jupiter, is really the beginning stages of the next 10 years. So if you have placements here, that's really good for you. The first, let's say 10 degrees of Libra. And if you don't, we do get an eclipse here in March. On March 25th this year, there will be a full moon eclipse here. And so that's very significant. So just pay attention to this. Look through to March, and when we do the Saturn-Jupiter sextile all sign reading, which is going to come up soon, I will focus on Libra here to tell you guys how that will affect your chart. So we'll talk about that more in a separate video. Okay, the third yod that I really want to highlight is the yod onto Leo. Okay, now Leo's kind of a big deal with regard to this new moon. So basically the yod has formed off of Mars approaching its position as the exalted position at 28 degrees of Capricorn, and Neptune approaching the 26th now, or 27th. It will reach almost Aries this year, but back off in the last few minutes of the anaretic degree of Pisces. But right now, Neptune and Mars are forming a sextile, and that's bringing a lot of attention to the last degrees of Leo here. And this is really the sweet spot. We'll talk about this more in the other video, but also be aware that this is a super important area of the sky right now, excuse me, right here at Virgo, 28 degrees of Leo or so. Anything from 25 to 30 degrees of Leo is really the sweet spot here. We did get a solar eclipse here on August 21st, 2017. And so August, yeah, we had a 28-degree solar eclipse. That's a new moon eclipse here that triggered that. So you can go back to 2017 and think what happened. And if you want to look back a bit further, on August 22nd, 1998, we also had a solar eclipse here in Leo right at this degree. So important area of the chart, important for you to be aware of and be mindful of. Okay, so there is a lot of connections to this astrology and mundane astrology, and I'm really not going to get into what and why. I may talk about this a little bit when we do the collective reading around this topic, but just in an eagle eye view, there's a lot of talk of the end of, American return, the end of America. I really don't think that this is it. I think that this is a transition phase, and I don't think things are ending. I think things are transforming from the way that they have been, and some aspects of the things that are changing are intimidating because they're new, but I don't think that this is a critical moment yet. I think that the current events in the 2020s and 2030s are going to be extremely important for events that come up in the future, namely the 2050s and 2060s. And I talked about this a lot. But if we look back on, I'll save the other comments for the next video. But just know that these positions in Aquarius and Leo are very, very important for American history, essentially. Not only American history, but world history. So we'll kind of go through that in a separate video, okay? For our purposes, it's really important to understand the significance of this new moon in relation to Leo. So Aquarius and Leo are on the same axis astrologically. They're two sides of the same coin. They face each other. So if the sun's in the middle, then they lie on each side of the sun, right? And so they are a pair. And so there are a lot of events that happened in direct opposition to where the new moon is happening now. I've told you about this before, but especially in 2023, there were a lot of events that happened in the 20th degree of Leo or so. And so I have a little clip that I've put into the description that you guys can watch. It's 50 seconds from a video last year in which I point out the synchronicity between the events in Leo and this new moon. And in other words, basically what I told you guys back then was the events that happened in August specifically of 2023 fed into larger consequences. And these events in February that are happening now, namely with this new moon, but also the full moon at the end of the month, we'll talk about this separately, are deeply connected to the events of August and September 2023 astrologically. And one of the connections is 20th degree of Leo. 20th degree of Leo is getting a lot of activation right now. So if you have placements between 15 and 25 degrees of Leo, that's super important. So here are a taste test. We'll dive into this in a detailed talk about this with the members. But so we had a Sun Venus Cazimi here last year in the summertime. We had a new moon in August, on August 16th in Leo. And this is the clip from which that's in the description for you guys to watch. Basically, I was saying that something's happening now astrologically, something's happening in the world, and there's going to be an event that's more serious than the events in 2019 that led into the early 2020, and we know what happened with that. So whatever happened in 2023 in the summertime fed into this current events. What happened in October happened in October, and now this February new moon is connected to that as well. That's a bird's eye view of that connection. But beyond that, this area of the chart has had many other connections. So planets form planetary cycles, a relationship to each other. And Mars and Venus are joining in Aquarius right now this year and 2 years ago. But the year before that, they actually joined together at 20 degrees Leo. In 2021, this is where they had their last cycle begin. So a cycle in 2021 began between Mars and Venus in the summertime, and then it turned into two cycles that began in Aquarius. So that's another connection right opposite this new moon, the other side of that coin. To add to this, Venus has begun having her every 8 years or every 4 years, it's joining the sun in this position. And so this is a superior and inferior conjunction. This is the whole talk of Venus in the underworld. This is happening here. And the significant part of that is that event had begun to happen in 2023. It had begun happening fully in Leo. Before that, Virgo was a part of that process. And so in 2023, the whole retrograde cycle of Venus began in Leo for the next many years. And the conjunction with the sun happened at, I think, 23 degrees of Leo, so right opposite where this new moon is. This tells me right away that this is a new moon that's relating to that time for you, but it's also relating to relationships. There's so many themes about where relationships are going, how they're developing, and how they're growing. So the other really important events are 2 eclipses, one in 2009 and one in 2017 right here in Leo. So Leo, the 20th degree, super important for this new moon. And so look back to the dates I just mentioned, and we'll go through them much slower when we do the collective reading, okay? There are a couple eclipses that are coming up in Aquarius that are significant. So the nodes move in a retrograde fashion in the astrological chart, and in a short time, in August 2026, is it? They will enter Aquarius and Leo. Now, the eclipses will begin before the nodes are fully in those signs. So we're going to start seeing eclipses. I think our first eclipse in Leo right here is going to be on August 12th, 2026. And I already told you guys this. And guess where it is? At 20 degrees of Leo. And so then we get a couple eclipses in 2017 that are actually, where are they? They're Aquarian eclipses, right where the new moon is happening, or pretty close. So on February 6th, 2027, there is a 17 degree solar eclipse in Aquarius, and on August 17th, 2027, so a few months later, we get a lunar eclipse. So we get a new moon here in this area, 3 degrees off of this new moon, and then we get a full moon eclipse about 4 degrees off of this new moon position. So you can, in your mind, basically say this new moon is connected to things that started in 2023, is growing now in 2024, and with a new moon, it's initiating a path forward to those eclipses in 2027. This applies to your personal astrology, but it also applies to the world. So I expect certain events that have begun last year. We know what event in the Levant, specifically Ukraine as well, is a part of this. But all of these world events may see breakthroughs with this new moon, and then they may come into a full circle event about 2027 with those eclipses. So it's an interesting connection. That's why it took me so long to put this all together, because I started seeing the connections. I had to review my videos from last year to know what I was talking about. And so it's very interesting, astrology. It's the kind of stuff that makes me believe that astrology is real, because those interconnections really pinpoint events happening. So last year I was telling you guys, these Leo events right here, this is interesting, this is real. And what happens by October with those eclipses in Libra and Aries, or I think it was like a Libra and a Taurus eclipse, right? And that's even more salient. We had a major response to events in World War II emerge in the Levant, or post-World War II events. Again, I'm trying to use neutral language, but just understand for you personally that this new moon that happened on August 16th, 2023 is so connected to this. And stay tuned for my video on the full moon, because there's a mirror there that's just bonkers. It's even more integrated. I think it's going to be a big full moon at the end of the month. So let's finish up and I'll tell you guys a story. How many minutes? 35 minutes. I got through 2 hours worth of content in 35 minutes. So let me tell you guys a story to understand the energy here. It's a very benefic, very spiritual area of the sky. It's deeply connected with helping society and with the archetype of Aquarius as being the helper, the savior, the one who comes in and offers a different perspective. It's really connected with this area of the sky. There's a star called Castra here, and this star is very elusive. So elusive, in fact, that it had been misidentified by astronomers as the wrong star and gave it the wrong attributions. So it's a very secretive, elusive place. And I think that the fact that the star was misidentified, it's Epsilon Capricorni, this star, the fact that it was misnamed and misidentified really adds to the veiled nature of this area of the sky. I'm not talking about 20 degrees specifically, but this whole area, the last 10 degrees of Aquarius, very, very special, very sacred, very helpful to the universe. So I'm not telling you bad things are going to happen. In fact, I think this is a nice transformation moving forward. But let's finish up on a story to give you more dimension to what this star represents. So Pan is a Greek god who is associated with the sign of Capricorn. This new moon, even though in the tropical zodiac is showing up at 20 degrees of Aquarius, it is actually in the Capricorn constellation, right? So in sidereal astrology, this is at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So when we're talking about this in tropical astrology and referring to stars, we're really thinking about Capricorn. And so the story here is of Pan. So there was a monster, half human, half monster, that was born named Typhon. And he went to Egypt and he was terrorizing all the gods. And so Pan, a god, told all the other gods, he's a goat god, by the way, he told all the other gods to change their physical form into animals to evade this monster named Typhon. And so he himself jumped into the Nile, he jumped into the river, and he was moving so fast away from Typhon that his lower body was only submerged while his upper body remained that of a god. And so his lower body actually turned into a fish, and so then he was transformed into a goat fish, and that's why we have Capricorn. But the bigger story of this interaction is that Zeus then went and I think it was Mount Etna, he threw it on Typhon and he put him underneath Sicily. Is that correct? And so it was a way to destroy Typhon. While he took Pan, and he blessed him, and he lifted him up into the constellations and turned him into Capricorn. And so therefore that's why we get the image of the goat and fish. There's a lot of mystery around this. There's a lot of myths around this. There are many myths just about this one story alone, and but that's the gist of it. And so this is the story of Capricorn, this kind of benefic, helping the other gods, teaching them to transform. And this energy is here at 20 degrees Aquarius. It's very, very nice. So it's a very helpful to others. And then I also from this story take the message that there is a benevolence that is coming in the form of Zeus that is going to help. So right now our problems are needed to be evaded. And then there's a higher power that will come in and help the situation, just like Zeus kills Typhon in the story. So I hope this was helpful. We'll go into this in a deeper nuance later, but I hope this was helpful, and I hope that this gave you some food for thought. Okay, so now let's do the all sign. Maybe I can talk about this a little bit. Let's see if we have any kind of as a segue, right? Let's see if there's any messages. So like I said, 20 degree Aquarius is deeply connected with the Wheel of Fortune. So it really feels as though there's an insight or information. Remember Venus squaring the nodes. There's insight information, but I sense that there's resistance. There's a resistance to accept what you are hearing. There's a resistance to accept the reality, accept the truth of the things that are happening. But once you do, there is going to be a Wheel of Fortune, an improvement of situations. And so there is going to be this transformative moment or lifting up. There is an element of change and transformation here in the form of death. So something is ending and something new is growing. And so I think that the events that happened since that new moon right here in Leo and this new moon, as well as the full moons that we'll talk about next, the ones that mirror each other, we're really talking about situations that were dealt with terribly in the past, and now people are dealing with the consequences of them being dealt with terribly, and now we are stuck with predicaments that are horrible to manage, just horrible situations. So without pointing fingers, we can all agree that whatever's happened in the Levant is a byproduct of terrible management in the past, especially after World War II. And the reason we're seeing that is that it's been mismanaged, right? And now we need to find a solution that saves the most amount of people, that addresses the needs of the most amount of people. That's good governance, right? So when we see the death card in this energy and the new moon in Leo and then a new moon in Aquarius right opposite each other, apart by about 6 months, we're really talking about closing a door. And I'm talking about mundane astrology, but this is happening for you as well. So what are you letting go? What are you resisting? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to see things? Are you ready to embrace your future and let go of your disappointments? And here's the Fool. Look, the Death and the Fool are looking straight at each other. The Death, this person is looking towards death, but look, there's a new beginning right behind him. The Fool is ruled by Uranus, and so Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and we've already talked about that. So there is some tension, the tension in the square between Taurus and Aquarius, but there's a lot of power that comes out of these circumstances as well, the Magician. Okay, so Page of Swords, King of Swords, I would say that there's some kind of disagreement between people here. They're not facing each other. They're looking in opposite directions. They're both swords. Don't worry about the gender, so apply whatever gender fits into the situation. It could be an older person and a younger person, maybe agreeing to disagree. Somebody's ready to move forward with their own ideas, ready to let go of the past. So there's some kind of conflict. It doesn't mean that the end of the relationship or things are over, but there's a departure of somebody and their ideas from something that has been possibly holding them back. And there's a lot of you know, positive energy moving forward. So I would recommend take a look at the things that you feel are holding you back or where you feel stagnant. Is there a relationship or a situation that you're holding on to even though it's antiquated? You know, we have this beautiful Ace of Wands on the bottom suggesting new beginnings. Okay, so why don't we talk about sign by sign? This was really fun. This is where I ask you guys to give me a like and leave me a comment. Comments once the video is posted help a lot. So, you know, I love getting comments from you guys, and it tells the algorithm you want to see my content again. So please like and comment. Sorry, I got excited. I get nervous because I'm like, I want to fit this all in for you guys. But even this really diet version, look, it's 44 minutes. So maybe we'll wait with the other video, but maybe I'll work all this content into something else for you guys. So maybe I'll backtrack on my offer to do a deep dive today about this. I just think that I covered enough to give you the gist, and then otherwise it would be redundant. So we'll save our members only reading for later. Okay, I'll leave that in the comments for anybody who's watching. But let's begin the all signs. So first we have Taurus. Okay, Taurus is super activated with this new moon. It's squaring the new moon. One thing I didn't mention in my first talk about this is that the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in 2000 happened exactly where Uranus is right now. So the planetary cycle, just like the one that started at 0 degrees Aquarius, started where Uranus is right now in the year 2000. And that is literally squaring this new moon. There's a lot of connections at fixed signs, 20 degrees right now. And that there's reasons for it. That's the stuff I want to tell you guys at another time. They're all interconnected, and they're all, especially in mundane astrology, like larger cycles than our lifetime, they're all showing up together. But it has to do with the formation of the United States. It has to do with its development. It has to do with world politics. All these positions are happening right now. This new moon, in my opinion, is a positive way forward if you're looking for that answer. But if you're a Taurus here, then you're squaring this new moon, likewise the new moon that happened last year. So this, especially if you have Taurus placements in 15 to 25 degrees, it's a square. But that's not a bad thing. It's a breaking forward out of some things that are happening. So let's first take a look at which houses are activated. So we have an 8. I like the white dice, but it has a hard time focusing on it. And then we have Leo. Leo's very important for you right now. Like I was saying, that new moon at 20 degrees last year and the other events that happened. And then watch Mercury. Watch what Mercury's doing. Mercury has just begun its cycle with Pluto, but Mercury is going to be very active alongside this in your life. Communication is emphasized, but also like initiating action. So let's take a look at this new moon and how that plays in your chart. For you, this has a really important new beginning with regard to your career and with regard to social groups. Something important happened for you last year in the summertime to do with family and things nearby you, but you've been going through a lot of adjustment and transformation. I think where your heart really is with trying to branch out into the world and connect with other people. So this new moon is very powerful. You know what I said in the beginning about holding back on manifesting or creating energy? I would really recommend that for you. Wait from the new moon that starts tomorrow until the moon reaches Saturn, and then watch how people are, how they interact, so that you know what the energy shift is and how that affects you so that you can respond to it. So rather than initiate in this energy, be receptive in this energy to understand where this pattern is forming. These patterns in Aquarius are super important right now because they set the pace for the next 20 years. Okay, so pay attention to this. Let's pick a couple cards. We're just doing 3 tarot cards now just to see how that energy forms. So we have the 10 of rods. I feel like that's a reflection on your fourth house energy connected with your family. It feels like you're cooped up at home and you want to reach out. And then we have the Strength card, which is Leo. So we'll take a look at Leo again. Oh yeah, that's that family stuff. That's why Leo came up here. Okay. And then we have the Hermit, which is Virgo. We do have a Yod on Virgo in the kite formation activated. You know what it looks like to me, Taurus? It looks like there is a person who is significant for you that will emerge maybe over the next 10 years, but I'm not saying you have to wait 10 years for them to become significant. But this in the fifth house and this kite that we'll talk about much more in August and September, it feels as though there is a bridge. There is someone who is bridging that gap for you and the outside world. I do think that here in the early spring, you are going to initiate things on your own. And once you get going, there will be a person, someone who's really fun and very harmonious for you, who will be happy to help you along. They may be a Virgo. They may be somebody's really helpful. But right now you're feeling tension because that tension is telling you how to change, to adapt to where things are going. And that's why maybe the eighth house is emphasized, that you need to adjust to the way that things are through personal change. This is Pallas Athena at 1 degree of Sagittarius. She's very like, she's the high achiever. Okay. So this assures me that whatever changes are on your horizon, you will be able to meet. I think that leading up to this, I think your fourth house is bogged down. I think that that's what the new moon in the fourth house was about, and how Uranus is tackling your energies now. I think that the way things were bogged down for you, and now you're, moving forward. And so a conduit through Leo, look back to last summer, what started in the past. It has to do with you going your own way in your career a little bit, life with others. But once you get underway, I think that there is someone who's there, watch the magic happen, and don't do anything until the moon reaches 7 degrees Pisces. Okay. So just to see how things are going, it's a good time to pay attention to the energy, like watch how it evolves. Okay. So Libra, people make these lists at the beginning of the year about how which sign is the most important. I would say Libra is one of the most important signs of the year because of those yods I showed you. I think that a lot's going on in Libra right now. Not just the South Node. I think that it's an understated change, a really positive one. So if you have Libra placements, I think the transits are pretty wild. And where things are going for Libra, when those kites start moving into Libra that I talked about in the intro, that's going to be a game changer. So first, let's take a look at dice just to see what house to pay attention to. Okay, so we have the fifth house. Sorry if I love these dice, these white ones, but they don't show up very well. So it's 5 for the fifth house. That's where the new moon is. We have your sign, Libra. Look at this. We have your sign, and we have Mars in Libra, or Mars in general. Pay attention to Mars. I don't think Mars is going to get to Libra this year. So that's next year's transit. But Mars is currently in exalted degree, and we talked about its connection to Neptune right now, and how that connection is touching on that kite position. Well, right now at Juno, but essentially it's alluding to that kite that's forming later on this year. Basically, I think that this is just validating that this is a transformative moment for Libras. And in terms of this new moon that's happening in your fifth house, there's a lot of joy and happiness that is coming in for you, Libra. I think at the current time, there are certain personal adjustments that are happening in your family and home that are hard to accept. They're hard to internalize. Likewise, I think a big hurdle for you is the conjunction of North Node and Chiron. That conjunction that's happening at the end of the month, beginning of next month, it's you accepting something about someone you care a lot about, or a series of people you care a lot about. It's either you allow a certain behavior or you need to cut out a certain behavior. There's something that's really hard for you to accept, Libra, that the North Node and Chiron conjunction is referring to. But a lot of this will happen for you right now in your 12th house, Juno, and the right before Libra, the last degrees of Virgo, which means that there are certain psychological subconscious processes. You're going through a transformation, but it's not like you need to adopt a series of new behaviors or change something about yourself. This is coming in from the subconscious. Events in the outside world are triggering your subconscious to have a specific reaction. And so allow those reactions to happen, welcome them when they arrive. Okay, so let's, wow. Okay, let's take a look at your reading. So we have the Two of Pentacles. Just people being disruptive, right? Okay, so we have the Four of Pentacles. And then we have the Five of Rods. Okay, so yeah, there's tension for you here with the Five of Rods. I think it has to do with acceptance of family or telling family members something. You have a path that you want to go on right now, but that how that's received by family members is not necessarily, it's like the hurdle that you have to overcome. So your relationship, I think it's your close relationships that you will tackle in the springtime with regard to the things that are happening now. The fifth house is about your joy, about what you really want in life. And to have a new moon here, especially a new moon that's so activated by so many events and astrological transits, is super important. It's super important and significant now. So there was an event last summer for Libra placements in which there was some kind of inspiration that had shown up for you through your social connections, through people that you know, because the new moon in Leo. And so now that inspiration is leading you to wanting to do something your own way. But in the meantime, there are people in relationships, family, and like a significant other with whom you have to break down certain tensions that are preventing you from going in the direction that you want. So there's a stagnancy here. You're not fully going through to where you want. The fifth house is reminding you, the new moon here is reminding you about what you want because there are certain tensions. And so I already told you guys, the square between Aquarius and Taurus is going to enlighten you on your Aries North Node Chiron conjunction. What that means is this personal placement here in Aquarius, squaring the 8th house, a change that needs to happen in a material world to get what you want, reminds you of a pattern, Libra, in your relationships that is preventing you from moving forward. Maybe to not make people, how do I say this, to not displease people in your family, to play into what they want, to be agreeable. I think it's something along those lines, like you don't want to displease someone, you want to please them, and so therefore you're holding you're holding back from something that you truly want. And so maybe this new moon is really activating change and transformation for you, a rebelliousness here. Okay, so that's cool. Libra, sun, moon, and rising. Okay, so next sign. Okay, so we have Leo. Hey Leo, sun, moon, and rising. Let's take a look at maybe your dice first as I set up your chart. Leo, Leo, Leo. Hold on. Wow. Okay. Hold on. I have to move something because if I don't move, I'll hit the end stream and we'll have to start again. And that would be terrible. Okay. So, hi, Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's take a look at your... so you have the 11th house. This is where Vesta is. That represents everything to do with networks, connections, luckiness. So if you have someone around you who is, how do I say this? Like somebody who wishes really well for you, this might be an indication that their good disposition towards you becomes very important. Then we have Taurus. I think I'm going to change these dice because you're not, see, it takes a long time to focus in on them. But we have Taurus, and that's in your 10th house, Leo. And then we have Pluto, okay? Pluto, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay. It's all about Pluto. Pluto's center stage. Everybody's whispering about Pluto this year. Okay. So Pluto's in Aquarius, right? So this is in your 7th house. And this is an observation for everyone. This new moon is deeply rooted in our relationships, no matter what sign you're in. And that's because of the Leo and Aquarian axis. So things that had begun for us, including Leos, in 2023 in the summer are now playing out through our relationships. And so they're really growing and evolving, merging out of our relationships. So there's going to be a lot of comments here about relationships. For you, Leo, this is an emergence of something new in terms of relationships. If I had more Leo placements, I would be, this month is incredibly intense for you. It has a lot of cycles beginning, a lot of new phases coming in. This means new friendships, new connections, drastic changes, unexpected changes, maybe motivated by your career. Some of you might be getting promotions. Some of you might be getting lateral movements in your companies. There's, because the 7th house can be like partnerships as well, but there are critical changes that are happening around you now alongside this new moon. And just like I said to Taurus, I would say, especially the fixed signs, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, and what's the 4th one? Scorpio. Scorpio has nothing in it, so I haven't been focusing on it. What's that 4th sign again in fixed? All the fixed signs, I would say watch until the moon reaches Pisces before you do too much energy work or something like that. Let's see what kind of tarot cards you're getting, Leo. First, we have the 8 of Swords. That's a Saturn card. So 8 of Swords, not sure how to get through a situation. Then we have Chariot, and that's Cancer energy. That's your 12th house. There's something within you, deep within you, that is holding you back from where you really want to go. If you've been trying to get somewhere to a specific direction, Leo, if you've been trying to get somewhere to a specific direction, I think that maybe there's a subconscious reason why you haven't been reaching that goal. And I think that there's a new path for you. I'm not trying to tell you that what you've been trying to achieve is not achievable, but I'm just trying to suggest if you've been trying to figure out why it's happening this way, I don't think it's within your control, and I think it comes from the subconscious. I think that's what the Chariot is telling us here. And the Page of Rods is a new beginning. It's likely that through a connection with someone else, some of you will literally fall in love with this new moon or through this new moon, and through the events of like the conjunctions around it, you will literally find love this month. Leo is a really nice placement for all this. It's powerful, it's overwhelming, but it's very nice. So you might find love, you might find a new path, really open to the world. The world is kind of your oyster, so you should challenge your environment right now as Uranus and Jupiter transit your 10th house, okay? So embrace the possibilities, embrace your social network. You have allies here. Just try it. Go for it, Leo. I hope you find love. I hope you find your happiness. Okay, so let's see. Oh, it got dark because it was sunny and now it's not sunny. See, that's the degree of difference. But this color looks nice, so I'm going to keep it. Unless somebody's complaining about, you know, the light of this, but I like this color. So next we have Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. Let's talk about your new moon, Aquarius. Okay, so the new moon, I would, if you're Aquarian, watch the astrology intro because so much of it pertains to you. I'm watching or thinking about as much astrology as I can right now for my Aquarian moon. It's very, very important. And yeah, very, very synchronized and turning over a new leaf. Everything from the series of conjunctions with Pluto in Aquarius to the new moon to the conjunction of Venus and Mars. It's one of the biggest months for Aquarius, hands down. So watch the sun. It's Aquarius season. I should wish you guys happy birthday too. So happy birthday, you guys. And then we have Libra. Those are those yod placements I was telling you guys about in the intro. And then we have the first house. So it's emphasizing it's all about you. Take it all in. One of the biggest events of your entire life. If nothing is happening yet, the precursor, like the foundation, is happening now that is initiating in your sign. And so let's take a look at Libra. Of course, Libra, you are very harmonious with. We have letting go of attachment to the way that you thought about life until July of 2023. Let go of that. Everything before July 2023, the really question and have a critical view of the way that you saw yourself and life and who you are in it. By letting go, you will empower yourself to challenge your current environment through your personality. This is all the energy here, and really go for it. That's what I think Libra signifies for you. On a bigger pattern, right now you're still in a cycle of letting go. So you were in a holding pattern, and now you're gonna a little bit of letting go, nothing out of control. And then once those kite formations start to form more in Libra, in this yod that's forming in Libra right now, these things will stimulate you to jump forward and take big strides ahead in terms of your life. So we're in a transition phase, so it's a little bit of this, a little bit of the other. But here with the new moon, you're really seeing an initiation of something that's true to you coming out, something that has been held back, something that has been dormant. Okay, so let's take a look at your tarot cards. We have the 8 of Rods. And then we have the Queen of Swords. Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. And then we have the 3 of Cups. Oh, something's coming back into the picture. This could be a person or a situation or a time in your life. I really feel like you're getting back into the swing of things. Does that make sense? I feel as though there is a transition phase in which you cut some things out. So removing the excess, especially attachment to past ideas, is really helpful for your embracing. As these kites begin to form in Libra, just to give you I talked about this in the intro, but I'll tell you when that is now. As Pluto firmly enters into Aquarius, that's at the end of the year, as Neptune enters Aries, begins to enter Aries next year, Neptune will reach the 29th degree of Pisces this year, the anaretic degree, like 29 degrees, 58 minutes, and then turns retrograde. So like really hovering on the cusp of Aries. As Neptune enters Aries next year, and this is such a sensitive point here. Oh, we have so much to talk about here. There's so many astrological points that are activated that it's mind-boggling, and they're so significant. So we are, to understand the world, just know that you are living in one of those times in history that people will be reading about in the future, learning about in the future. So as Pluto enters Aquarius, Neptune begins to enter Aries, and as Uranus makes its way into Gemini, the kite formation that has been forming on Virgo since last year will begin to form in the first degrees of Libra Aquarius. And so that's when I think for you, a big transition will happen from putting some things to rest, which is the 8th house kite, to a kite in the 9th house in which things really, really move ahead. For now, be really open to things from the past coming in so you can review them and see if they intergrade. I think that you're ready to take a path for yourself in a certain direction. That's the first house. But there's family members here that are very important for you to revisit with. So maybe there's some tension. I sense maybe there is some kind of resistance. Maybe you're so excited about the things that are emerging for you that you're not super excited about what they have to offer. But I think this is suggesting that you should connect with them. Okay, so connect with those people from your past, specifically family members. All right, so let's see. Very nice reading for Aquarius. Is this getting too dark for you guys? Let me know. I can't see. Am I missing some important comments? I read your guys' comments after the live stream because we all know what happens when I don't. let's do a little brightness. Because I had it set for a day. See, there we go. That's much better. Okay, so now we're better. Okay, so let's do the next sign, astrology. We're good. So I think what I'm going to do, just as an update, I think what we're going to do, because it's 4 o'clock, so it's going to get dark, I'm going to go over the astrology part and figure out if there is anything that's value added that I can say in a separate video. Like if going deeper will be helpful, or if it's just going to be me nerding out and whoever wants to hear me, can nerd out with me. So once I listen to the astrology part we just did, and I'll assess it for completeness of message. Like, is there a point to doing more? If I decide that there's a point to doing more, what I'm going to do is fill an audio session with just the astrology wheel. You guys have seen that from me before, and some pretty background. And then I'll do that live tonight sometime, because then I won't be stuck to the daytime light. So if also, if you're interested in hearing more after what you've heard and you're like, hey, Varush, you went too fast over this part, tell me more, leave me a comment after the video is posted so I know that there's people who want to hear it. So that's how we'll do it. So after we're done, I'll watch the video, the beginning part, and I'll assess it for completeness. And if I feel I can delve deeper and we can talk through the astrology slower, with more detail, then I'll do members only live stream for everyone, and then it will be available as your collective offering. How about that? Because I don't want to waste our time if we've already covered the important bits. Okay, so next sign is, and let me know what you think about that in the comments once the video is posted. So Gemini. Okay, hey Gemini, let's take a look at your astrology. Let me switch another air sign. I think I've done all the air signs, right? I did Libras. So this is the third air sign. Hi, Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. We have pay attention to the moon. So that's a new moon, the traditional ruler of this placement of the third decan of Aquarius, in right at the top of your chart. Very nice. And then we have Gemini, so pay attention to you. You have Vesta there. Remember, the nice grand trine is really in your favor between the sun and the south node. That's really nice energy. Really supportive. I think I just messed up. I think it was the 6th house. I started playing with the dice with my fingers and I think I rolled it. But here, it says 6th house. It doesn't want to... Oh, there we go. Focus in, but 6th house. So 6th house is here. It's Scorpio. It's not really activated at this time. So it's Scorpio is really dormant energy. It doesn't mean nothing's happening for Scorpio, but maybe events to do with like everyday life become important. We'll see as we talk about this transit. So the new moon is super important for your sign because it's happening right at the MC, right at the top of the chart. So this happens when things emerge. The division between the 9th and the 10th house is where ideas become manifest, where through action our ideas become real. And so the new moon is very, very beautiful for you. It's really coming into your own. If you've been struggling with, I don't know, making a connection in the world through events that have happened, or if you have made a connection, if you've been struggling to make a connection because of events in the world between like your ideals and the ideas that you're having and its groundedness, I feel like this new moon will really help you to let go of past relationships, past circumstances, and embrace new connections that will allow you to make that bridge. Okay, so people are very important alongside this new moon, your connections with other people, for all of us. And so for you, this new moon, if you feel stunted and you're like, I have these great ideas, but I don't know where to connect, I feel like this new moon is an avenue through which you can really integrate with the rest of society again, or the rest of us. I really have a sense that life experiences have been extremely intense for Geminis. And so there's been a lot of events in the 8th house, and there's a lot of events now happening in your 9th house. Go slow, Gemini. Take it all in. Very intense realizations as Pluto forms the conjunctions with Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So you're just coming off of an intense pattern of transformation and endings in between 2019, 2022, as there was very intense transits in Capricorn in the 8th house. We've talked about this, how I believe that this is probably was one of the most intense transits for any sign. So if you have Gemini placements, those Capricorn transits alongside the pandemic, whoa, that was happening right in your 8th house. That's a guttural kind of series of events. And so you're still recovering. You're probably well on your way to recovery, beginning new paths. But for the time being, just if things are still a haul, if they're still difficult, and if there's still a fair bit for you to manage, just remember that you are in this post Capricorn 8th house life event, probably one of the biggest astrological events of your life. So now as Pluto enters the 9th house, let your ideas simmer, let your thoughts seep into your head. Don't be anxious about how they will turn out. Just allow them to grow. Okay? So let's see your, so just patience. Okay, so let's take a look at your tarot cards. We have the 5 of Swords. Okay. Yeah, it just feels like there's a disconnection, a disjunction between reality and your ideas. It's probably because those ideas are congealing into material reality, which means that the ideas that you're conceiving, you're creating, you're thinking of right now, you need to still put them all together. Just like this reading for me, it took me a really long time to put this reading together because at first I had all these ideas and they were floating around and I'm like, and this and this and that. And then slowly it started coming together. So when you have lots of variables, when you have lots of like big ideas or really like something that's, how do I say, like counter-normative, especially like different than the norm. When you're seeing something new for the first time, you have to give it time to come into its own. We have the 3 of Cups, and there's reconnection here with people. And then we have the Knight of Cups. Offer the kindness from people. This new moon's sextiling your Aries North Node and Chiron. There's so your theme, and we'll talk about this in a dedicated video, but one of your themes for Chiron and the North Node has to do with like healing your friendships, you know, healing your relationship to friendships. And I think that there's people that are coming in that you're supposed to let in, that you're supposed to welcome in. I think your healing, just like everybody else with this new moon, there's a nuance here of welcoming and help. So if you watched the astrology intro, I told you about Pan and how he told all the other gods to transform into different animals, and before he himself transformed into half a fish, but to evade Typhon, right? So there's this level of how do I say this? Help for others. There's a fixed star here called Castra at 20 degrees, and the Latin word stands for camp, such as like a camp in the desert or camp in the forest. So, you know, it's kind of the meeting place where people come together in goodwill to kind of exchange information, find common ground. Okay, so just be very patient, and new things are coming. Okay, so good. Gemini's process is going to be slow, just so you guys know. There's nothing else I can say about it. The only thing I can relay, so you don't feel like I'm patronizing you, is, you know, the kind of disjunction I've had with the channel. I don't have Gemini placements at all. My dad's a Gemini, and I love him, and I've gotten along with Geminis throughout my life. Like, I really like Geminis, but I don't have many placements. But in terms of, you know, how the channel's been kind of, you know, I've been here and I couldn't be here and all of this stuff. It's been very frustrating, but it's my patience that I've been using to know that where I'm going and where I'm going to take things when I can. So it's not about getting distracted or having something else to do on your path, Gemini. It's about understanding that the interim things are minute, they're not consequential to your final goal, to your final destination. And I would encourage, that's the mindset for the new moon to have, to keep a hopeful, open eye. And even if it seems like a big mishmash of ideas that don't make a lot of sense, be patient. Something's formulating for you. And I think it's going to be very nice. Okay. So next sign. Okay, so next we have Sagittarius. Hey, Sag, let's take a look at your sign. First, I'll roll the dice for you. So you have the second house, that's money. Okay, and then we have Cancer. Cancer is important for you right now. This focusing on the dice is really not working, but that's okay. And then we have pay attention to the sun. So we know where the sun is with the moon. It's a new moon. Let's take a look at your placements. Okay, so the new moon is happening actually in your third house on your IC. Those are sensitive points. So whenever you have these points here activated, those are typically connected with like very transformative moments in your life. So if there's a astrological event alongside the ascendant, descendant, MC, IC, these are huge events, the division lines between the houses. So the new moon, it is 10 degrees off your IC, but it's close enough and it is significant. And then it opposes all those new moons in 2023 in Leo, August 16th specifically, up here in the chart. So this new moon for you, I feel like it's a response for some of the things that have been happening in the outside world. I think in the last 6 months, there's been quite a lot of change that has come over you and into your life that you are now responding to, and this new moon triggers that response. I think that there's a release. So I'm looking at this grand trine energy we described in the intro. there's a release of certain types of patterns in relationships. So be it friends, frenemies, or friends that are duplicitous towards you, friends who didn't help or in other ways were distracting to your well-being. I think this new moon, however you've dealt with those situations in the past, this new moon is bringing you forward to be able to really deal with things. I think there's a resistance here to being with yourself. We'll talk about this more as we talk about the Chiron North Node conjunction, but what the fifth house represents as the North Node and Chiron join together in Aries in the fifth house, it's really suggesting that it's not like I'm calling you out, but the conjunction itself is suggesting that it is good practice at this time to take a look how you are not allowing yourself to step into your own joy and be with yourself. So the challenge here is autonomy, and whatever ways in which you fight your own autonomy. So for example, many girls and women, let's keep guys out of it because this is typically what women really struggle with. We get conditioned to believe that we have to be in a relationship to be complete. And in the modern world, that has become antiquated as a belief system. It's an old belief system. I'm not telling you shouldn't be in a relationship, nothing like that. I'm talking about the fact that we get told that we should be in a relationship or we'll be unhappy. And so are there any, for example, are there any constructs that are in your head, whether you're a man or a woman, this was just an example, that are telling you to be a certain way because of what you've been told or life experiences? And are you holding yourself back by not allowing you to be within yourself with your own truth and your own joy? And how do you break out of that moving forward? And this is in a close relationship with your relationships with other people. Your relationships with other people inform this awareness. So use the awareness of how you feel about within your relationships with others to inform your path forward. There's something that you have to do on your own. There's some way that you need to break out. And so there's some really powerful sextile between the new moon and the north node, and that's triggering you being out there in the world. You can totally do it. It's like feeling comfort in your own rhythm, you know? Let's take a look at some tarot cards to see what that can mean. We have the Nine of Pentacles. Is that 9? Of course, it's the 9 of Pentacles. Venus in Virgo. And then we have the 4 of Swords. So it feels as though there's a period of some kind of material satisfaction that leads to a period of rest. So maybe you were working 3 jobs for a while to make ends meet, and now you feel that you've gotten yourself ahead, or maybe you got a promotion or something where you feel that you can ease up on the frantic pace. So I think that you're in a pattern of rest, which makes sense alongside the IC. It's being fueled by financial reasons, be it promotion at work, but it can also be, there was a time when I had a bit of a cut on rent, long time ago before I had the channel, and that allowed me to reorient myself and take some downtime to figure out what I wanted to do next. And this gave me some breathing room in that space to rest and decompartmentalize and to allow myself to choose a path I truly wanted. And then you have the 2 of Wands, which is vision. So this is what it reminds me of, that there's some kind of material reason why, and there's Venus, right, in your second house, why you are getting the opportunity to reset and relax and figure out exactly where you want to go. Where you want to go, I think, is showing up in this Yod in Virgo, and also in those first degrees of Libra that we talked about. So this kite formation that's right in your in your 10th and 11th house. I think that's what this 2 of Wands is about, essentially giving you an idea where you're going, what kind of environment, what kind of people that you want to know. It's likely that with this new moon, you're getting the opportunity to draft out for yourself the idea of what kind of people you want to be around in the future. Maybe because in the past, some of the people that you were around were just not facilitating your ambition. You wanted to go somewhere in the world, but the people around you were not able to help you get there, or were just not the kind of people that you needed to get there. So that's what I think this new moon is about. It's just drafting the idea of where you are going. Okay. And again, I think everyone, it's good practice to wait until the moon is by Saturn to do any magic or initiation, manifestation work. But maybe for you, this will be helpful. Just really listen to yourself before you start, initiating energy and taking things forward. Okay, so we're about halfway done. So let's take a look at the next sign. We have Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Thank you guys so much for watching and being here. Make sure to like and comment once the video is posted. So we have Pluto is important. Pluto is in your 8th house. We'll talk about that in a minute. And we have Cancer. Okay, that's you, 1st house. And then we have 6th house again. Okay, so let me see your chart. Pluto is, okay, so while Pluto is in the 0 degree, the anaretic degree of Aquarius, it is going to be initiating a lot of new things. And since it's in your 8th house, the bulk of the change that you are going to engage in over the next 20 years will initiate now, and then when it returns from its retrograde at the end of the year. Okay, so now, and then it's going to turn retrograde, cover 0 degree again, go into Capricorn, and then at the end of the year in November, December, I think it re-enters actually in January 2025. No, December 2024. It will re-enter at 0 degrees, and that is going to be more of this initiation. So during this time, right into the beginning of next year, key transformation moments. So if you're sitting there and you're like, why is this transformation going on? Where is it coming from? I think that you will get hit with the bulk of it, but I think it's a welcome change, a necessary change, and I hope you enjoy that energy. And so with the 6th house, we're looking at Pallas Athena here in your 6th house. And so I think what this represents for you at this time is, no matter what happens for you, Cancer, over the next year, I think that Pallas Athena here gives you great skill, and just be yourself in that moment. Just do your best in the situations that are happening around you right now. And you're making me blush. I read a comment. See, I can't read your guys' comments because you guys are too sweet. Sorry. I'm like, I'll read the comments after. You guys can comment because I'm not, yeah. Anyway, so let's go back. Sorry, Cancer. They hit me in the heart. You guys are too cute. Okay, so, okay. Oh, there we go. I had to move the screen around so I don't peek at the messages or whatever. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, Pallas Athena just signifies that basically, I think that what it essentially means is all you need to do is like just be in your best every day. Just apply yourself in a clear and cogent way, and you will see the outcomes. Don't worry about the changes that are happening. See what's happening as a transformation that empowers you moving forward. See it as a necessary thing that will allow the next 20 years to be different than the last 15 in the ways that you need it to be. And focus on yourself. Focus on your agency. Focus on what you can do in any given moment. So this new moon, which is in your 8th house, there's likely going to be a lot of change for you over the next month, right until March. And I think that that's okay. And I think that's a good thing, both internally like your beliefs and where your heart is at, but also externally in terms of like things happening, around you. Okay, so let's take a look at your tarot cards. So we have Justice, which is Libra. And then we have the King of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. And then we have the Five of Cups. Okay, so this King of Cups may be you, or it may be someone. Listen, how do I say this? I have a feeling that... Okay, I know you don't want vengeance, Cancer. And so I'm getting multiple downloads for these cards, and I'll tell you what they are. I'm getting... I don't think you want vengeance, but I think you met someone who had an open heart. They conveyed themselves as a person of an open heart who was willing to have a relationship. That person did not have an open heart and had hurt you quite a lot because of the fact that they had the ability to shapeshift, just like Pan, pretend like they were one way but were another. This led to hurt feelings, okay? And so I think what's happening now is when you play that kind of game, not you, but the other person, it's a really losing game because you open your heart to that person, even though you're playing a game on them, you're playing a game on yourself. And the justice in the situation is that when you, how do I say this? Everybody who does terrible things, every toxic person is toxic for a reason, because they're trying to achieve something that they want to achieve. And they're narcissistic enough to engage in bad behavior to try to get it, right? But yet they're still a person with emotion. They're playing themselves, in other words. So you don't want to engage in that behavior. But if somebody fooled you and really hurt your feelings by playing that kind of game, they're sitting there right now, and this isn't your vengeance, this isn't you trying to make them feel that way, but essentially what's happened is sitting there and they're reflecting on the potential that was lost, how they messed it up. And here you are, really, even if you wanted to get back together with them, I don't think you would, because I think this 8th house new moon and all these transits are initiating such a different phase in your life. So even if you were meant to be with this person, you wouldn't be, because it just wouldn't work now, because the time has broken, right? And so the timeline has broken. So somebody's very regretting whatever they've done to you, Cancer. And so for some of you, this feels romantic. This feels like a relationship issue. But it can also be a business issue, like a boss who wasn't grateful, or a best friend who wasn't really like as good of a friend as they played it off to be. So there's regret there. And that's the 5 of Cups, the awareness that they messed it up, that they missed the opportunity. But I don't think it's your regret. I think you're really beginning a new path. I think new things are unfolding in front of you. You have things on the go. You don't have time for that. So I think that, it's just a missed opportunity for someone to be around you. And I think you shouldn't even dwell on the fact that this is happening or wondering whether they'll reach out. Like I said, I think you're in a different place than you were before. And if you tried to even interact with this person, I think what would happen is you would find that you're in a completely different page of the book, completely different energy. So focus on the North Node, focus on the new moon. They're opening up your way forward, and they're informed by the South Node in the 4th house. That's family, okay? And so some key family situations, this is probably attached to some family trauma, lowercase t. I'm not trying to be a psychologist here. So lowercase trauma by family members that taught you a pattern of disappointment, and this is the closure of that event. Remember, I said that there was this new moon on August 16th, and now this is the mirror side of that here on February 9th in the 8th house. And so this is actually going to allow you to ultimately have relationships in which you share resources with other people. Whereas the theme before was about learning to protect yourself from the bad behavior of others, trying to take your money, take your resources. This was a second house thing, protect yourself. Here, even though it may not be happening yet, this is the initial phases of relationships where you actually get the real version of this. So don't dwell in the past. This future is unfolding. Look to opportunities, and it's in your mindset that's changed. You know, those patterns and the conditioning from family that had held you back from moving forward, that's reached a completion, and now you are moving ahead. Okay, so new relationships with people that are basically where you can come together with someone else, make money, or establish some kind of financial direction together, right? Whereas before the emphasis was on you, now the emphasis is on, you know, kind of connecting with someone else, like a marriage or a business agreement, something like that. Okay, so let's see the next sign. Hey Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's talk about your sign under these influences. Okay, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and I saw Scorpiana in the chat. Hey girl, hey. So we have Aries, and we have the 5th house. And then we have Pluto again. How many times have we rolled Pluto today? Isn't that wild? Astrology, divination, dice, they're all wild because whenever there's certain energies that are really prevalent, there it goes. Keeps showing up over and over again. So Pluto is your ruler, Scorpio. Most of you guys know that. And it's now forming a square to your placement. So that's not necessarily the easiest transit, but it has its own... It's not that it's the worst transit, it's that how do I say this? A lot of the lessons and the outcomes will come from friction, will come from things coming in a conflict of interest in which you will have to choose or manage things, as opposed to like a trine or a sextile where everything's flowing together. You have to kind of break some things down with the Pluto square. So Pluto's very important. This is happening in your 4th house. The new moon is in your 4th house. That has a lot to do with family and relationships with your family members, completion of things. Also, there's like ending, an aspect of ending of things, but also the new beginning is here because your IC is here right on the 0 degree, and so you're beginning a new path. It's interesting, you probably didn't see this part, but in another sign I mentioned, oh, Scorpio doesn't have many transits in it. It's true, you're vacant until the inner planets start to move in with the sun. This is a nice break. It's not a sign that something bad is happening. It's a sign that some of the tumultuous energy is on the other side of the chart. So this is a breather moment for for Scorpio transits. The new moon for here, I would say, I would consider it really in connection with the Pluto, Venus, Mars, and Mercury transits, the conjunction, the planetary cycles that are beginning here. I have a feeling that a lot is happening for you underneath, how do I say this? It's happening for you, not under the surface, but it's happening for you in a subtle way. Before things come out of their shell, before things show themselves for what they are, the things that are emerging for you, I think that there's some kind of issue around something that you face on the daily basis from day to day, and there's some kind of blockage that has to be removed, and that blockage will be removed by the end of March. I would say second week of March. There's going to be a real concerted effort to address that. So if like it could be everything from being shy around people, or not having a ride to, like, let's say you want to go swimming every day, but you don't have a ride to go to the pool early in the morning. That was my issue when I was a teenager. I couldn't get like someone to come with me early enough to go swimming, like swimming laps. So that was like, because who wants to get up early? I was always a morning person, so I'm like, oh, it's 5 o'clock, ready to go. Like, you know, to try to find friends to do things with at 5 a.m. is hard. And when they do want to do it, they're so, how do I say, mopey. People are not very active at 5. I'm like a person, I'm less active in the evenings. I'm more of a morning person. So that was my barrier. This is just a simple example of some of the barriers that you're going to have to work out and figure out. I did roll the Aries sign, so we're talking about the 6th house in your case. So it doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be terrible. It could be something like a problem that's preventing you from doing something on a day-to-day basis that could facilitate the things that are beginning for you to come out. So as the North Node and Chiron conjunction join together, there will be some kind of transformation, an ability to work around an issue. Now in Aries, it is personal. I made it kind of funny, like a ride to swimming or something like that. But it is kind of personal in Aries in Chiron and the North Node. So it's not necessarily just lighthearted. It could be like something that you actually have to get through, or something that impedes your ability to apply yourself every day. For example, here's a more serious one, and I'm not suggesting this is you, but it's just a brainstorm for people who are interested. Let's say that you have a very intense memory of something in the past that stays with you, you know, and every day for a couple hours you spend time thinking about it, or a life problem about your life that overwhelms you on a daily basis, and you spend time thinking about it. This is the kind of conjunction, and I'm not trying to talk about mental health. Go see a shrink if you need to. But in this kind of conjunction, the North Node and Chiron can suggest that you get at the root of the problem that's overwhelming you, that's preventing you to live a normal life, right? So I feel like this new moon, which is actually a sextile to the North Node, is triggering this event for you. So that's where I would focus on with this new moon. Not so much exactly what's emerging and which family member, how it's coming out of the end of something new is coming out of end of something, but more focused, look towards the end of February, beginning of March, because there's like a lesson there about getting over an obstacle that's stopping you from doing something on a day-to-day basis, a distraction of some kind that's impeding your progress. Okay. And we'll do a dedicated video to this, but I think that's where, I think overall in your chart, I see stillness, I see quiet. You don't have to rush. This is not a crazy time for you. This is a time of, you know, pacedness, moving forward. And I think that in that pacedness, try to take a look at obstacles that are preventing you from applying yourself in the manner you would need to achieve the things that you want. There's something in your way, whether it's an idea or distraction or a way to get from point A to point B, or some other obstacle that needs to get worked out. Okay, so here is your card. So we have the 8 of Rods, which is Mercury in Sagittarius. And then we have the Moon. Oh, the first time that's shown up. Tender feelings, you know? I was listening to Lana Del Rey today. I really like her music, and I was surprised how much of her music I knew just from, I never listened to her. And I used to listen when I was a kid to Tori Amos, who is, I would say, very similar to Lana's music. They're very similar types of artists. And so I always liked her music. I just don't listen to that type of music right now. So I put it on, I was listening. But this kind of energy that I see for you is really, it reminds me of this, kind of like a Lana Del Rey song. Very nice songs, kind of dreamy, kind of wandering the universe, trying to find, you know, your place. And so there's information that's coming in that's going to enlighten some thoughts and ideas and give you an inspiration for the future. It's very easygoing. You don't have to worry. You can just relax. Relationships might be very interesting for you at this time because both Saturn and Neptune are in Pisces. This could be very much clarifying the nature of your relationships with other people, how your romantic relationships prevent your progress, and how, like, coming to terms with some of the nuances of your relationships. But this new moon for me is really about looking forward, about the end to the past, a new beginning, and quietly observing the things that are in your way and just gently moving them to the side, getting them out of your way and figuring out a workaround. Because sometimes, like, you cannot, like, if you're 15 years old and you can't drive a car, like I couldn't, you're bound to that. You can't, 5 a.m., 15, this is what you're going to do. And so there's not much you can do about it. But there are workarounds, right? Like, what time does the bus run? Can you walk at that time as it gets, like, more in the springtime and summertime? Whatever your solution is. But Chiron in the North Node is, how do you work around it? How do you figure out a workaround around it? But for Scorpio, very gentle energy here, very delicate. Don't worry about it, and definitely don't have anxiety about where things will grow. A lot will grow from this position for you in your life. Okay, so we have 4 more to go. I'm worried about the sunset, but I think we'll make it. And if it's a little bit fuzzy, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it now. But this deck is actually really good for like darker environments. So, because it's like so easy to see, right? Capricorn's next. Sun, Moon, and Rising. Where are the Capricorns? Hello, Capricorn. Hello, hello. Okay, so we get a new moon in your second house. Let's roll the dice. We have Pluto again. I'm not playing games, right? You guys see my hand is rolling. The other 2 dice are rolling different things, but we have Pluto again. And then we have the 6th house. The 6th house is coming up again for a lot of signs. I think 4 signs have gotten the 6th house now. And then Virgo. Hey, Capricorn, how's it going? In my notes, and I don't have this ready to tell you, there was something about Virgo and Capricorn, like Virgo doing something very important for Capricorn. I'm just giving you a heads up. I'll find it and tell you. But there was some moment, and it's set astrologically, in which Virgos facilitate something very good for you up here. And it may be once Lilith leaves Virgo. If I was Capricorn, especially in terms of someone encouraging ideas, I would stay away from Virgos. Watch my videos, but be careful because Lilith is in Virgo right now. So for you, that might be like a personal relationship that's a distraction, or someone giving you weird ideas that lead to a dead end, something like that. So be a little cautious with Virgos until Lilith leaves Virgo very soon, in a couple months. But the new moon is in your second house. You get a lot of initiations here. This is a lot of things happening very, very quickly. 6th house tells me you're going to be busy. It looks like Vesta's in your 6th house, which to me suggests that you should look to helpers in your environment who can help you streamline some of the things that you're doing. Your time right now will be much better if you find someone who you can trust to delegate work to, because I think you're going to be very busy. Okay. The new moon essentially in the second house, it's really straightforward. I'm not trying to be too succinct, but I think that essentially just pay attention and look forward. There are new opportunities popping up for you left, right, and center throughout the whole month. And I would say be very patient and wait to see them all before making drastic decisions, because you think you'll make let's say your dream job comes in right now and is offering you something that you really look forward to. If you jump on that opportunity, very soon after may come a different opportunity that's even unbelievable, that you were not expecting it. So wait until this energy plays itself out, probably about the 3rd week of February, before making big decisions. See what all has shown up, all the information, all the opportunities, and then go after them. It's very, very simple energy. At the same time, you're playing that kind of balancing act between really having opportunities to have fun now. So there may be a conflict of interest. I already talked to you guys. Oh, did I? I don't know if I talked to you guys about this in your other reading, or if this is the members. I think this is the members only information. I'm doing a long members only video. It's taking me a while just because this bogged me down, but I'll have it out in a couple days. But essentially in that message, one of the nuances was that there was a real push and pull for Capricorn between new financial opportunities, which are great. But then there was also this energy of like where you will have fun and joy pulling you in a different direction, and you struggling to find time for both, essentially. So I think that there's an element here of, you know, having a little bit of both, and figuring out where to put the emphasis. Don't mess this up. This is a shorter transit in the 5th house, so use that 5th house energy as you can. In other words, have those joyous moments and those opportunities for fun, but make sure you're not undercutting your financial opportunities. Okay. So that's where I would put the emphasis, is in the 5th house, and then look to this for a more long-term transit. These transits are like between 20 and 2 years long. So you have lots of time to see where they lead to, right? Just as long as you're not ruining them by having fun. But if you have this decision, like a fun trip with your friends versus, you know, completing a project that could be done later, take a fun trip with your friends. Open yourself up. Okay, so we have Judgment. Okay, this is a Pluto card. So we had Pluto. Last big decisions. I feel the urge to make a fast decision about certain things. Look at this, Ace of Cups. The 5th house has a lot to do with relationships too. Conflicts of interest in relationships. And then we have the 8 of Swords. It feels like, be careful how you make decisions. Be careful how quickly you make a decision about someone. Be careful of how quickly you make a decision to be in a relationship with someone. So just mind your timing. There may be a pullback energy, which is the 8 of Swords. Once it feels like you make a firm decision, the Judgment and the Ace of Cups, and then you pull back with the Ace of Swords, and then you're like, I'm not sure about this. It feels like a pullback. Like once you're there, it may feel not as stable, or not as confident as if, but this feels really good. So what are you seeing? And then maybe like, why are you having cold feet? What are the doubts about? This seems to me like a lesser energy than this. This feels like a strong energy of big yes on something. So why are you pulling back? In most decks, the 8 of Swords has a castle behind it. And so the idea is that once you get through the problems, there is a reward at the end of the tunnel, right? So maybe don't give up. But this is something very exciting. The Last Judgment and the Ace of Cups, something new beginning, something to embrace and move forward. But there's a backing off energy. I think you're backing off on something because you get demoralized or you don't think it can happen. This is a time for all of us to be patient. You're not going to see the outcomes yet. This is just the transition, just the beginning. So don't get demoralized. This is the time when you put your mind, and focus in towards what you're doing. Be open to changes in the future. But for now, we're just starting. Very, very patiently, just starting and just emerging. One thing. I told you guys this in the astrology, but let me show Capricorns what this is about. Watch the astrology. But what I said was there was a new moon here in August 2023, right? 16 degrees. Now we get a new moon here. This is the transition phase. And then we will get eclipses in 2027 here as well. And so eclipses aren't always in the same spot. They're very, very close to this. So the energy really emerged in the summertime, 2023. Now we're getting a next activation in February 2024. And then by 2027, February and August, because there's a new moon and a full moon in Aquarius that's really close. They're 17 and 24 degrees. I did tell you guys about this in the intro. I forgot because I've been over these numbers again and again. I'm like, what did I tell them? What did I forget? But there's eclipses here in 2027, one in February, one in August. And so they're going to activate this position. So this is the full arc, you know. This is the full arc of the story for all of us, but for Capricorn. So in other words, I'm encouraging you to be patient. Okay, so next sign. We have Pisces. Hey, Pisces. Time to get a little weird, everyone. Let's see. How's Pisces doing? There's a nice little sunset, if you guys can see the colors changing. And I think the sun came out after being under clouds. Today's pretty cloudy here. Not too bad. So the new moon is in your 12th house. Let's see your dice for this reading. So you get the 7th house. So that's relationships, Vesta and Lilith. And then we have Libra. Libra actually came up in the dice a lot, and this has to do with those yodes and these other activations, the eclipse that's going to happen there. And then we have the Mercury communication, and Mercury is in your 12th house now. Okay, so 12th house is really complicated, right? And especially for a Pisces. I've already told you my take that for you, this is very poignant, and I would suggest that Pluto in your 12th house may be a Cancer, Pluto in the 7th house transit. Like, it's going to affect you. Pluto in your 7th house is going to affect you disproportionately to other signs. Like, it's just such a vulnerable spot. The reason it's a vulnerable spot is we're dealing with the subconscious. And so we can only assume what the subconscious is about by making hypotheses, by making educated guesses about what it's referring to. The subconscious is subconscious for a reason. The people around you can see your subconscious better than you can see it yourself. But yet your subconscious is so complicated that it's very hard to navigate for anyone to understand it, because you're so close to the membrane of the other realm, right? Of the other energies that are out there. Whatever words you want to use. You're on the periphery in your awareness. Your consciousness is right on the periphery. You're like the membrane around all of us, protecting all of us. But yet you don't see the other side. Maybe you get, how do I say this? You get impressions of what that is, but you don't know exactly. And so this new moon is touching upon all those issues. And since Pluto has entered your 12th house, I could see many dreams coming up for people with strong Pisces placements. Pisces moons, you guys are going to get lots of dreams here, lots of cycles. So the new moon, in my opinion, for you it's really understated, but it's deeply transformative. And it's talking about like your matrix. You know, I'm using all these different terms, but it's basically the building blocks of what you are, who you are, getting really activated. How that's going to manifest is not necessarily logical things you understand. Like, it's not going to be like, I think of an apple, here is an apple, you know. It's going to be the subconscious. So, you know, suddenly a cylinder appears, you know, and like, where did that come from? So don't spend your time trying to understand it. It just appears, and you can only approximate an answer, a hypothesis about what it represents. So some people get really wrapped up, especially Piscean types, because you are the membrane, to try to understand what the subconscious is saying. But I think the point is you can never truly understand the subconscious. You can just make meaning of it in the present moment. Very, very nice placement. So if you're a bit of like love the metaphysical world, then you're going to really enjoy this transit. If you're a Pisces who likes the practical world, this may be more of the stuff that you have to work through in order to function here, you know? And so this new moon introduces that energy. The new moon is a mirror of the new moon in Leo that happened 6 months ago. That doesn't happen with every new moon. There's a synchronicity between August and September 2023 and February 2024. I've already told you guys that. Look in the description for a link to a video that's talking about how it develops. It's another activation point. And so some things may have begun to happen for you, Pisces, in your outside world in the summer of 2023. And now you're getting adjustments and answers from the inside. But it's not like literal, like you can understand, like you just notice a difference. The external, you start noticing it, but you don't see where it comes from. A cylinder just appears. It's not that you think of an apple and an apple appears. Suddenly something in your life appears without context and you're like, whoa, this is mind-opening. So it can be, so in other words, this is very good for anybody who practices meditation, deep inner thoughts, deep inner work, but don't drive yourself cuckoo by trying to get at the nut of it, because you can't. It's the subconscious. It's the never-ending pit of the subconscious. You're never gonna get to the bottom of it. You can explore it if you enjoy exploring it, whatever, go have fun, but don't try to hurt yourself by trying to find that unique answer. Okay, it's not for you to know. It's outside of the capabilities of self-knowing. So, and that's, if you knew, you would be experiencing great despair, by the way, because the approximation is the blessing. If you knew, then you would be suffering, because then you would know. So that's true for everyone. You don't want to know the subconscious. You don't want to know the thing. You can only describe aspects of it as a personal development tool, but if you meet the subconscious and you know it's your own subconscious, if you know it 100%, that's great suffering. Don't feel that you must know. You're not supposed to know. This is normal. But here you will get a dose of something else. And I think it's an adjustment to whatever was required in your life that from in August that happened. So something in your life changed in the outside world, and now you're seeing an adjustment emerge from your subconscious. Okay? Cylinder appears. That was weird. Sorry, guys. Okay. I love Pisces so much. You guys are the best. Okay, so we have the 9 of Pentacles. I swear, I don't do drugs. I promise. Okay, so we have the Page of Pentacles. And then we have the Fool. So, yeah, definitely something is appearing. This looks like a person might be appearing in your life. Like the cat from Alice in Wonderland. Something magically appears. There's money with it. It's good. A new beginning. I think money facilitates your ability to initiate something in your life. We'll talk about that more when Chiron meets the North Node. But it feels like missing pieces are appearing, the things that you need to make the puzzle. But I don't think you should spend time on trying to understand how and why. Just more focus on the new beginnings that are happening. And be careful of your relationships with other people right now, especially if they're loaded with other energies. Like if there's conflict there, I would focus on myself if I were Pisces energy right now. Focus on your subconscious. Be at peace with yourself. Sit in peace with your own self. Okay? This is an energy for now, just for now. I think the energy is good for that. Okay? All right. Thank you. Now let's see the next sign. We have 2 more to go. We made it before sunset. We have Aries next. See, Virgo's next. Virgo's last, as always. Okay. I swear, I'm not playing any games. It just happens that way. Okay, so I guess I bet one day I said, oh, I like it when Virgo goes last. And I bet all of you guys who wish me so much who wish me well so much, were like, oh, I hope Virgo's last for Varush. I bet there's like a bunch of you guys setting that intention, and that's why it's happening. Okay, so let's see your dice. It's a little bit foggy. Sorry, guys. It's nearing sunset, but I didn't want to rush through this. It's an important energy. This new moon is important. I'm not pulling your chain. Sometimes some moons I'm like, oh, it's along the way, but this is so important for the next decade. We have actually the next 200 years. That was a part of the astrology that I skipped over, but it's huge. Such an important event. We have the sixth house again, right here. That's Virgo, and you have Scorpio energy, Aries. Okay. So we have Mercury, sixth house, and Scorpio. Scorpio is dormant right now. There's not many transits in it. It's in the eighth house. That is a sign of transformation and change. Then we have the sixth house, which is Virgo, and we have Lilith here and Juno. We have an activation here that's emerging from the sextile between Neptune and Mars, right? That's right, at 27 degrees of Virgo. We have a yod that's coming onto the sixth house. It feels as though there are things, Aries, there are things that are driving a heightened activity in your life. You need to produce higher output. There are things that are driving you to have to work hard. External factors that are putting the pressure on you to produce a lot. So it's a high intensity time for Aries placements. There is an element here of the subconscious, or there is an element here of the ambiguous reasons why, but there are very practical reasons why it feels like you're very, very, very busy. Okay. And then we have Mercury heightened, and Mercury is in Aquarius alongside this new moon. There's powerful connections that are forming. Things are emerging for Aries. I would say, take some time before you make decisions about which way you're going to go. It's like when you go to a new school in high school and you meet all the kids, you want to hang back a little bit and find out who is who before signing up to who is going to be your friend or who you feel most comfortable around, right? So this energy, as Venus and Mars enter Aquarius during this new moon, give yourself some time to understand who it is that you're interacting with before you make decisions about where things will go, okay? I think that's your main message for this new moon. That right now, give it some time to figure out who is who and what is what. I think the conjunction with the North Node and Chiron are going to give you some type of indication about like personal changes. There's going to be a coming to terms about some things that is coming up. Coming some terms about yourself. And once you come to terms with certain aspects of yourself that have been challenging in the past, you're going to be able to have different friends too. So it's like, you heal a part of yourself and then you open yourself up to better friends and stuff. So in this preliminary energy, I would suggest that you hang back, allow these other forces to happen around you and through you, and then make some decisions about where to reach out and with whom to connect with, right? To where to form those deeper connections. So we have the Six of Wands. And then we have the moon. Scorpio got the moon too. So we have two signs that got the moon. Yeah, so I think you're in an environment that's unknown to you. And we have the Eight of Cups. Don't worry, Eight of Cups is walking. He looks so sad in this one, but it's really not such a sad card. It's walking away with some degree of indifference even. It's Saturn in Pisces, right? So I think that you're walking away. It's likely that certain people that you have met now that you feel like, way to go, this is great. It's going to turn around that there's going to be ambivalence towards them, or you'll just learn that that's not your cup of tea and that you're going to walk away from. So there are certain things for you to find out in the social environment that you're in. Just like a kid in a new school, you get to know the other new kids before you make a decision about, who you're going to buddy up with, or who you feel most comfortable around. I think it's likely that as you get to know some of these personalities, it's likely that you're meeting some extreme personalities here, because Pluto's in the 11th house. And so as you get to know these new personalities, vibrant people, with extreme personalities sometimes come extreme vices. So I'm not saying they're horrible people, but you'll just work through it and figure it out. Okay, so this is a getting familiar, Aries, to others and to the environment. It isn't as it appears to be on the surface. Okay. Okay, so last but not least, Virgo. It's Virgos. I'm reading at sunset, so I'm sorry it got dark. Let me see if I can fix this for you guys. In the meantime, you guys can like and comment if you want. Let me see. Yeah, it's getting pixelated, right? I think it was better before. Oh, that looks okay. I'm sorry, Virgos. So I was really ambitious, but it's a mix of a sunset that's about to happen in about half an hour, but more importantly, some clouds that have come in overhead, right? So let's do your sign last but not least, and let's see how that hits your placements, this new moon in your 6th house. Okay, so just FYI, for all the signs, I've been rolling the dice, and the 6th house came up for like half of them. So it's all about like beginning new patterns in everyday life, figuring out like how you're going to do things, figuring out a plan. So we have Mars, we have the 8th house, which has changed. You have Chiron there. Ooh, that's intense. And then we have Leo. Okay, so Leo is your 12th house. Mars. This is a really strong combination in my opinion. So just to reiterate, Mars, 8th house, and Leo. And I've been reading them separately just to kind of take a look at each of the placements and what's going on there with each one. To me, together, this is like in the subconscious, you understand that there is a conflict that you have to remove from your life. And that really feeds into Chiron and the North Node. It's like screaming at me that there's this something in your subconscious is telling you that you have to make a change now. It's like right through you. And this new moon is very literal in your 6th house. It's very like, when I say literal, it's like 6th house is like what you do every day. It's like it's not a bad thing. And so you have all these transits in the 6th house and a new moon here. And then Mars and Venus will join at 6 degrees Aquarius on the 22nd in the 6th house. There's a lot happening here. There's how do I say this? I don't know. I'll think about it, but I think that there are, how do I say this? There are energies that you need to navigate that are emerging for you now that it's best to cut out as soon as possible before things get complicated. You also have Lilith in the 1st house. Lilith is a very destabilizing energy that can cause you to have perceptions that are paranoid in nature, or that are not necessarily the decisions or observations you would have had you not had Lilith in your 1st house. It makes you jump to conclusions. It makes you nervous about things. It makes you nervous about people. These transits to me are really suggesting that I think, and there is sextile here between the new moon and the North Node hitting your 1st house. I have a feeling that you're going to have to make some rapid changes with regard to your social environment and the people that you're interacting with. And you're going to have to come to terms with a certain aspect of relationships around you as quickly as possible so as not to allow them to pollute or to distort your reality. Okay? So to not mess with you. I don't think it's a dangerous thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think that there's a call to action here. The call to action is to take these matters very seriously, and whatever is coming up that is of something that's making you feel uneasy or something that's making you question, I would not ignore my perceptions of that. There's a need for a change. And Leo, even though we don't have Leo transits right now, we're talking about a new moon in August that showed up. If you're feeling a certain type of way about something, then be aware that there's a follow-through action that's needed, and that is terminating an influence of something on your life. Mars, right? Conflict. And I think that if there is something that's coming up, it's very real. And there's a timeline because Mars is going to join Pluto on the 15th or 16th of February. So there is going to be, I think that the tension, the pressure on you, it's almost like a tug of rope. Not let go of something. No, that's not the good. But it's almost like the tension on you is mounting and you're going to have to respond. Not let go of something, but you're going to have to respond and deal with that dynamic. Yes, cut something out. Cut something out that is not helpful. But I'm not saying let the situation go. In fact, I think that you should address the situation directly, right? We have, very kind of like stand your ground. And, you're being challenged in some kind of personal way. And I think you should not be nice about it. Okay? Ooh. Okay. So let's see your cards. We have the Knight of Cups. I'm not saying there's a giant conflict. I'm just saying that Saturn's in your 7th house and you need to address something point blank. And then you have the 9 of Pentacles. Yeah. And then we have the 2 of Wands. Don't be a fool. And if somebody's coming to you because they see you as Venus in Virgo, which is the 9 of Pentacles, there might be someone coming around for the wrong reasons, or, just watch your, don't be a fool, Virgo, with this one. And if something feels a little bit like your subconscious is saying, I don't like it, or if it's referring to summer of last year, August 16th, 2023, don't be foolish with this energy. Don't be carefree with this energy. Don't let people play you. Just focus on you and do you very well and be patient. And I would say if you want to, how do I say this? Include another energy in your influence, such as another person or a new job, I would wait to make that decision till later, a month, 2 months from now, or whatever. They'll stick around if they're worthwhile opportunities. Okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a lot of fun doing this. Now I'm going to review the astrology part and see if we need to do a members. If I don't do a members, there'll be another members collective coming up. And so I'll do it in the dark. Like I'll go and just, you'll see the wheel and we'll talk about the astrology then. And I will film it live for everyone, so everyone can watch. So if you're around tonight, then stick around and wait for another notification from me. If you like and comment, then you'll get more notifications from me. And if you don't, then the algorithm slowly stops sending you my videos, so I encourage you to like and comment for more. Thank you for watching. I have a lot to say. This is a big year. Okay, talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.